Welcome back. This week we're talking about episode 2 of American Horror Story Coven. Despite the show being set in New Orleans, there have been, and will most likely continue to be, a lot of references to the witch trials in Salem, Massachusetts. Well, it just so happens that I live just under an hour north of Salem. And while I wouldn't say that I'm the best resource for attractions, I do have some recommendations if you're looking to get away for the last week of October. The big attraction for visitors is, of course, the Salem Witch Museum, which you can check out at salemwitchmuseum.com. Now, one museum is all well and good, but that's not all. For the entire month of October, Salem is host to the annual Haunted Happenings, and the Psychic Fair, and Witchcraft Expo. If you're interested in learning more about either of these events, head over to either salem.org/calendar_Maine or hauntedhappenings.org. After all of that, I'm sad that I'm not getting paid to plug all of that, but oh well. Without further interruption, let's start the review. Quick episode recap. 2 Gator Boys ran afoul of Misty Day. Fiona had to mind wipe some cops.
Turn over whatever information you've gathered on these girls.
Madison brought Zoe to the Build-A-Boyfriend workshop.
All we have to do is follow this recipe.
Fiona and Delphine had an enlightening conversation.
I was tricked.
By whom?
There's a good chance Madison and Zoe married the devil.
I don't know if I'm down with that.
Nan let Delphine escape.
Get out!
Fiona tried to strike a deal with Marie Laveau.
The hammer wants the nails magic. Oh, that is rich.
Cordelia and Hank tried a new fertility treatment.
Say it.
Misty offered to help Zoe with healing Kyle.
You can stay here with me. I'll heal him.
And Marie Laveau unchained her Minotaur.
We got some business to attend to.
This week, things started out on an episode of Gator Boys on Animal Planet, took a left turn onto Fox's When Animals Attack, and plopped us right down into that Lily Rabe-filled American Horror Story that we all love so much. All set to Stevie Nicks, of course. This cold open was a fitting re-entry for Misty Day. It reinforced her interest in animals, and gave us the sense that perhaps she's not all there as she was prior to her death. It would make sense for Misty to be a little abstracted in her manner and speech, since that's a common trope with characters that have died and come back to life. They've seen something that alters how they view the world, and it makes others feel uneasy. This is especially true when Misty seeks out Zoe and Kyle and brings them back to her shack in the swamp. The whole time that Zoe is there, Misty has her on edge. Of course, the heartbreaking part of that scene is that Zoe has never heard of Fleetwood Mac or Stevie Nicks.
Who sings this?
Who sings this?
Now, I'm not that old, and I grew up listening on Fleetwood Mac, so it perplexes me that a girl could go all of her life without ever hearing Rhiannon, or Edge of 17, or even Go Your Own Way. Now, I'm not going to come right out and say that Zoe's parents are bad people because they never exposed their daughter to Fleetwood Mac, but I will come out and say that they're bad parents. I was very pleased to see Lily Rabe emerge as a continuing character this season. It will be good to see her play on a different mentality from the roles she's taken on in prior seasons. What I'm not sure of is whether she'll make the move into the academy or stay in her shack on the outskirts. As much as I would like to see her integrate with the rest of the cast, I just think her character would not do well in an urban setting. So far, she's so focused on nature and wildlife that I think she would never stick around for that long, even if Cordelia tried to bring her in. Right along that line of thinking, we got a flashback to the incident that brought Queenie to the academy. I worked for a short while in food service, and while I've never experienced a customer like the one in the episode, I'm sure most people who saw this scene thought that Queenie had a reasonable motive to hurt this guy.
I like to speak to the manager, stupid fat ass.
What did you call me?
Unfortunately for him, Queenie has a problem with her temper, a fact quickly reinforced by her threat to Madison following the flashback. Despite her anger issues and animosity towards Madison, I want to believe that Queenie would not work against the others at the Academy. However, her lineage from Tituba makes her a target for Marie Laveau, when you consider that Queenie represents a purer link to the old magic than the other witches. It'll be interesting to see if Marie Laveau pays the Academy a visit later in the season. Speaking of visitors at the Academy, the arrival of the two police detectives seemed a little bit out of left field.
Detective Sanchez, NOPD Homicide, my partner Detective Styles.
Though I can appreciate how it set up the opportunity for Fiona to step in and meddle with her hocus pocus, the scene came off as an exposition dump. More than that, the scene really showed how ineffective Cordelia is at controlling the girls. Even though Zoe is hysterically blurting out secrets, all Cordelia can do is just stand there and let it happen. Of course, we'd learn later that Cordelia's mind is on other things than the school. During her hysterics, Zoe admits to killing the frat boy, much to Madison's surprise. Fiona is able to fix the situation and chastises the girls, but really, Fiona's line about the girls being afraid of her is really the only thing I liked about this scene.
In this whole wide, wicked world, the only thing you have to be afraid of is me.
I cannot adequately express how much I don't care what's happening with Cordelia and Hank. It's not because of the actress. Sarah Paulson was excellent back in Season 2 as Lana Winters, but Cordelia is no Lana Winters. I want nothing to do with her magic snake sex ritual and her weirdly okay with it husband. Moving on. The titular scene for this episode was Madison and Zoe's visit to the morgue, and I have to question how the bodies can be dismembered the way they are, but otherwise completely unscathed. A bus flip and explosion should have barbecued the remains beyond recovery, but I probably shouldn't be complaining about a lack of realism in a show with witches and voodoo potions. I'm not sure what they have planned for the patchworked Kyle. I hardly believe that Cordelia or Fiona would allow Zoe to keep him in the house, and it's not like she can hide him in the basement. Of course, American Horror Story has a history of hiding things in the basement quite effectively. Fiona was certainly able to hide a captive Delphine Lalaurie without issue until Nan decided to let her go. I'm interested to see how Delphine adapts to life in the 21st century, especially now that she's being held captive by Fiona. It will be especially interesting to see how the other people in the house react to her. Delphine is not someone who is accustomed to being at the bottom of the pecking order, and with so many strong personalities in one place, it will only be a matter of time before a conflict breaks out. Despite that, once Delphine learns that Marie Laveau is still out to get her, she's bound to change her tune and start relying on the Academy to protect her from another 180 years in a pine box. Then again, there's a good chance that Marie Laveau will be more preoccupied with fighting the witches than chasing down Delphine. The conversation that her and Fiona have in the hair salon was pretty fierce. What I got out of it, though, was a sense that the witch's magic is derived from the same source as the voodoo magic.
The Arawak.
That would imply that Marie Laveau is the more powerful of the two because she has a more pure bloodline. But that implication doesn't work because Fiona's magic is far more destructive.
Get him! Put it out! Stop!
It's interesting to me that a lot of the witch's powers have been used to hurt or kill people, with obvious exceptions aside, whereas the voodoo magic has done nothing but preserve life. It's just another way that Fiona and Marie are at odds with each other. I think it's high time for some speculation. But first let's see if any of my predictions from last week have happened yet. A big check on the list goes next to my prediction that Marie Laveau is still alive and out to punish Delphine. Marie still has her Minotaur. And Misty Day did indeed come back from the dead, although she is still being a weird swamp loner. In future episodes, I'm expecting a few things to happen. Delphine is sure to get Queenie angry over something, and Queenie will probably try and kill her. Cordelia is going to get pregnant, and it will be terrible. Nan will most likely learn of what Madison and Zoe did, and they'll get in trouble. And we'll probably see more of the police before too long. After having some time to reflect on this episode, I found that I wasn't too impressed by it. I feel like it jumped around too much from person to person and didn't have the charm that the season premiere had. Even Jessica Lange didn't have that same charm. She just seemed agitated to be in this episode. I think this episode would have been better served rolled into the season premiere as the second half of a 2-hour special. After all, it just seemed like a lot of material that needed to be included in order to set things up for later in the season. Like a utility episode, put there in order to get people in their right spots for the next act. Despite my lackluster opinion of this episode, it did have its good scenes. Misty's cold open, Fiona's interactions with Delphine and Marie Laveau, and the scene where Nan lets Delphine out and she ends up hitting Queenie on the head with a candlestick. I have hope that from here on out Coven will only get better, especially now that all the players are in position. As always, please comment below to keep the conversation going. Subscribe to my channel for more of these weekly reviews of American Horror Story Coven, and follow me on Twitter to see what I have to say during each episode. So until next week, I'm Rick D, and thank you for watching.